Do we all remember when Brock Lesnar was trying out for the Vikings?
I vaguely remember.
What's that?
What's it mean, the wrestler?
Yeah, wrestler,
Yeah.
and then fought in the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what I'm gonna call Vikings Story Time. So in 2004, it was about 2 years after he started wrestling in WWE or the WWF at the time, maybe. I think it was still WWF at that time. 2 years after Brock Lesnar started wrestling there, he decided to try out for the Vikings. So in 2004, he tried out for the Vikings. And so, I mean, imagine this guy. Just pure 300 pounds of just muscle. Insane. Imagine him playing football.
Welcome to Skol Chat. We are a group created by four guys for the love of the game, specifically for our favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings. We are four fans who get together to discuss all aspects of the team. We have room to add a couple of you at a time during our airings and would like you to join us in our chat. Although the game may only last a season, the desire for the game and the team is year-long. Please hit the subscribe button, follow us on YouTube, and give us either a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on your experience, and leave us a comment. If you'd like to join us during the show, contact us at the email link provided below.
Welcome to Skol Chat 46. This week, we're going to talk about our projections for the starting quarterback position next year. We're going to talk about some front office moves, some trade talks. We'll dip into the NFL supplemental draft and what that might look like this year, or if it's going to happen at all. If you like what you see here, and if you like what you've seen in the past, give us a like, hit the thumbs up, do the things and hit the stuff and hit the buttons, whatever. With that, we usually head right into the memes, but we're going to skip the memes. And I know we kind of talked about in one podcast, we brought up Tommy Kramer and all the stories back in the day. So I was trying to find some just funny stories or interesting stories from Vikings players. And this week, do we all remember when Brock Lesnar was trying out for the Vikings?
Oh, the
I vaguely
wrestler?
remember.
What's that?
What's it mean, the wrestler?
Yeah, wrestler,
Yeah.
and then fought in the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what I'm gonna call Vikings Story Time. So in 2004, it was about 2 years after he started wrestling in WWE or the WWF at the time, maybe. I think it was still WWF at that time. 2 years after Brock Lesnar started wrestling there, he decided to try out for the Vikings. So in 2004, he tried out for the Vikings. And so, imagine this guy. Just pure 300 pounds of just muscle. Insane. Imagine him playing football. And then there was a story in a joint practice with the Kansas City Chiefs. Anybody hear about that story about what happened?
No.
So there's kind of two ways of the story going. Either somebody hit the Vikings quarterback at that time, it would have been Dante Culpepper late. Another story is that somebody on the Vikings defense hit the Chiefs quarterback late. Either way, there was a brawl on the field. The story, though, from the Vikings perspective, is that somebody hit Dante Culpepper late, and Brock Lesnar asked who had hit him. So the next play, Brock Lesnar supposedly just grabbed the guy and suplexed him onto the field, and it was like a 300-pound guy. Brawl just ensued. Brock Lesnar suplexing somebody on the football field. So there's a picture of him in a preseason game against the 49ers on the screen there. But yeah, just one of those funny stories, from Vikings history kind of thing.
Of the replacements prior to playing.
He brought some of his wrestling technique onto the field. Which high school wrestlers are supposed to be good football players because, or college wrestlers because, they know leverages and all that fun stuff, lower body core strength, all that fun stuff. But yeah, no, just thought it'd be funny to talk about that. And I'll dig up some more stories or things that, people have talked about in the past. Not in the past, but just things that we may not know. Let me get this off the screen. And so we did talk about, and I think we've kind of mentioned a couple of times, like what we were thinking the Vikings would do for the starting quarterback position. But I think this week we should put our, thumbs on the scale and decide who we think is going to be the starter for the Vikings. I'll let you go, Dad, since this was your topic.
What I was thinking of is what each of us would think, would it be by the end of training camp that it be determined which one of the quarterbacks will be the starting quarterback? Or if it goes in the preseason game, by is it the first, second game, or even the final preseason game before they determine who the starting quarterback is going to be? That's what I was talking about for the projection.
Okay, because I mean, I think we pretty well, or have kind of made it well known who we each think is going to be the starter. But you're saying when the decision is going to be made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, when do you think, or do you want us to go?
Do I think?
Or do you want us to go first?
You guys go first.
Who wants
Boy,
the
that's
first
rough.
crack?
We're going to just drag us all the way to the very, very beginning. Depth charts that show that Murray is the starter. And then you got O'Connell saying, oh, no, they're both doing their fair shares of starting reps first. So I'm not sure.
I would have to say during camp at some point that they're going to have to make a choice, because you even going into preseason, you want your quarterback ready, So I would say it's got to be during camp that they got to make a decision.
Isn't that
And realistically, it would be best for them to do it during that time, because if there's anything that ever did come down to where they, would get it something with JJ, the earlier the better.
And I agree with that. I think there's a positive to that, because then they'll get more towards you get the tail end of the training camp. They'll get more reps. If they announce that they're the starter. Because that is the downfall. Like if you hold off, which I think they might possibly do, wait until the end of the the second preseason game to make the announcement. Well, then you only have a week with the starting quarterback. Well, I guess it's gonna be a couple of weeks with the starting quarterback getting starting quarterback reps in practice.
Yep.
So I just don't know if that's enough time to prepare, especially if it's going to be Kyler Murray. Murray stepping into the new offense. I mean,
right. And realistically, you're going to have certain plays based upon that which quarterback you're choosing. So you're going to want to make sure you get those reps in.
Yeah, they say Murray is really connecting him with Dylan.
Yeah, no, that's been talk, and we'll kind of. I'm not sure if I had a group chat, but there's a talker about that too. But like I said, I think they might ride this competition out. So I could see, like I said, if what I want them to do is make a decision well before the the second preseason game, what I could see them doing, I think I'm going to go with that. They want that competition, and they want to wait until the last minute before they decide, or before they make that announcement.
I must say that my prediction is by the end of the second preseason game will be determined who's going to be the starting quarterback. They'll make up their mind who they're going to have for a starter. And I'll also add to that, they are not going to trade McCarthy, because why would they? What would they have? If they trade McCarthy, that means it'd be Murray, Wentz, and Mac.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they want Max as a backup quarterback to whoever one, is in. So they'd be further ahead, keeping Murray, McCarthy, Wentz, nothing else, and put Max on the practice squad. If he, go through the, the process there of, so that's my prediction.
Well, and I'll kind of slide this in there, because
that's what I was going to say too.
The Vikings are being linked to Mac Jones.
Yeah.
So, and this is crazy. What if they trade JJ away for picks or whatever it may be, which I'm not sure how high you would sell for at this point. But what if they do that and then turn around and trade for Mac Jones?
Why would you want Max Jones?
I'm not saying, I don't know. Why? I'm just saying that these are just talkers that are out there.
I think
there's talking points of there's even Shadur Sanders out there as one that they're kind of rumoring.
It's that's what it is. It's a bunch of, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. McCarthy is better than Sanders, and Mac Jones. That was the discussion last season, and they're throwing something away and bringing it in the garbage.
Hey, the Bears might even pick up McCarthy.
But did we all what did we all think when they first we're bringing Darnold in. Honestly.
Wow, why would they want to bring Darno in? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's why.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
Well,
saying back then we didn't think
yeah.
he was worth. Why are you bringing him in? He didn't do good where he was at.
well, there's also this other side of it too, where people are saying, okay, well, like you're saying, John, Kyler Murray might be here for a season. He may do well, but just like
Mhm.
Sam Darnold, they may let him walk, and that's why people are saying, oh, then it makes sense to go and get Mac Jones. But then again, you're in the same spot consistently over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just restarting over every time.
I could see him doing that. Yeah. I mean,
I
definitely.
don't know if I don't think the new GM's going to step into that.
I don't think he's gonna play that game because, I
It's
just
going to
can't
be his
wrap.
idea. If somebody else is coming in, it's going to be his idea.
Well, yeah,
Murray
and I can bet you it's not gonna be Mac Jones.
very well
Say
could be.
Well,
I
no,
don't
and like I think the reason bringing it up too is just to rationalize it that it doesn't make any sense.
Then again, if
Mm.
Murray has a very good year, has a comeback this year, then come next year, he's going to be too expensive for us to keep. Therefore, they could get Max Jones cheaper than trying to hang on to Murray.
But like you say, then what are you going to do? How many year contract are you going to get Mac Jones? Because
Well,
in a year down the road, you're going to be in the same boat. So you're going to pay
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
at some point.
They could do that. That's a good idea.
You
Well, I
are
think too.
absolutely nuts. We'll have your Chicago Bears do that. Okay?
Where's his Packers coolie at?
Well, no, like that was the issue with like Dennis Green's
Volunteers.
Vikings and even Brad Childress. It was just a quarterback carousel. There was never
Mm.
a consistent starter from one year other than the 2 years Warren Moon was here. And then
Yeah.
what happened? Warren Moon got hurt. Then they came back in with Brad Johnson. The Brad Johnson got hurt. Then Randall Cunningham. And then Randall Cunningham. Then and then there was Dante Culpepper, who was a starter for multiple years. There hasn't been a multiple year starter since Dante. So they need some consistency, and they need to quit doing this quarterback stuff.
Yeah.
They need to find a starter and have them here for 2 to 3 years.
Let them gain the experience. Let them get their feet on solid ground.
Yeah, Cousins had been longest since Culpepper. So
Yeah, and I think, and we all think that Kyler at this point probably will end up winning the starting position. But I mean, I do hope that we're surprised and it ends up being McCarthy. Then that way, like we just talked about, like then that consistency can start, and they can not worry about who's going to be the quarterback next year.
Well, I just can't figure it out why, because I guess I'm looking back. All right. So last season, even though it was McCarthy's second year as a pro, was actually his first year playing. I guess you got all these other so-called great quarterbacks or fantastic quarterbacks that the first 1, 2 seasons weren't all that great. Like I brought up about Peyton Manning. His first year wasn't all that great. Troy Aikman first season wasn't all that great. You know, so John Elway, well, yeah, but I don't think his season was all that great. But anyways, it just baffles me about giving up on somebody so soon. Is everybody wants to trade McCarthy well, they talk like the Vikings ought to, so that's what kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, that's it. I think half of the fan base has made up their mind that, because again, we've seen this how many times and went through the Christian Ponder era, and again, not comparing McCarthy to Christian Ponder, because I think we saw that Christian Ponder had some shortcomings that JJ doesn't have, like arm strength. JJ does have a strong arm. His problem is he just doesn't know how to layer the ball as well as he could, and put touch on balls when when he needs to too. So
well,
but
yeah, but Ponder had 36 starts.
yeah,
compared
I'm just saying that that's what people, that one half of the fan base is saying, or that's what they're thinking right now, is they made up their mind that, and that's who they're comparing him to, even though they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But
Anyways, yeah. So, but that's it was my prediction on the quarterback battle. So
and
now
so
who
it's-
they're gonna pick for a starter, I'm not sure.
you don't know yet.
No, it could be 50-50.
Well,
It's
yeah, I mean, you're always
50-50.
we're on the outside looking in, but I think it's a 60-40 with Kyler. I mean, I think signing him, and again, though, that
Well,
just might, again, looking outside, looking in, we might be, that's the way I'm reading it.
very well could be. I don't know. But I'm just saying, be based on what O'Connell said, the question that was asked of him about the competition, if by preseason games would he have decided on a quarterback, and he said it could go in the preseason game. And then the question was asked, well, would it be the end of the first one or the second one? And O'Connell said it could be the third one. Then he was asked, well, wouldn't that kind of cut into the time of the starter getting the reps in that? No, they're, time for them to get the reps. So that's why I'm saying I think they're going to go till after the second preseason game. So see how the boys do on their live fire.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's coming up. I mean, we're looking at the end of July. I think they report to training
Yeah.
camp. The rookies do, and a
For
couple
sure.
of days later, the veterans do. So there's going to be some football stuff happening right around 30 days. That's crazy to think about. When the summer, like, it should have just started.
I know
Yeah.
it feels like it did just started and it's halfway over.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of, because it kind of goes into what we're talking about loosely here, as far as quarterbacks and potential trades, and so this year the NFL is not going to have a supplemental draft. Last time they did have a supplemental draft was in 2023, but nobody was selected. The last time they had a draft and somebody was selected was 2019. But I'm not sure if anybody's heard about this Brendan Sorsby.
Mhm.
I think we talked about it. Didn't we kind of mention him the last time we talked?
I think, yeah, maybe we mentioned about betting and
Yeah, we did.
but yeah,
But
so there was talks at the Vikings, and I don't know who these people are, but the Vikings might have been in on, offering up a draft pick for Brendan Sorsby.
well, Mighty Thor said that, if they held the supplemental draft, he said that the Vikings ought to think about it, but don't give any more than a fifth rounder for him. Okay.
And I thought they had offered or gave him an offer, but I
No.
didn't see what they
No, I think
offered him.
what he had to submit, what you call it, for the supplemental draft, which he met the deadline and he had all the paperwork, and the NFL made it sound like that he didn't turn the petition or whatever it called in before the deadline or by the
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
So that's all screwy.
yeah,
And then
that's
it was
weird.
brought up. There was another one. What was his name? Hunter, somebody or something like that. I didn't catch the name. That there's a reason why these like Brendan, why he doing it, got in trouble in what is it, the NC or NCC or whatever the league for the college. That's why these guys come out for the supplemental draft, is because they were kicked out of the college program, football programs, or whatever. So that was the means of, the hardship or whatever to get in pro. Well, anyways, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So,
Well, and we know that, and I think we've kind of said a time or two about how the NFL can be shady sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
well,
I think
we're
the
just,
issue is that they, just because there's enough talk about how the refs rigged the games, and there's a lot of questions around that, and they don't want anything that's going to associate them with gambling, which bringing this guy in would be saying, even though he messed up and shouldn't have messed up, and he's could have potentially thrown games he played in, they don't want that brought into the league.
well, the thing is, the NFL is embedded with the gambling
They
outlet.
are.
I know,
They are.
and like Isaiah Rodgers was, for less than what Brendan Sorsby did, was suspended for a year.
Yeah. But I'm just saying the NFL is embedded. The league itself is embedded with the gambling.
They're accepting their sponsorship. Yeah, sponsorship money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, it doesn't matter. They're not going to have it. I feel sorry for the kid, but then again, I don't feel sorry for the kid because I don't think any player either for college or the pros ought to be betting or whatever on their team, or a friend that's in the league or whatever, so
Just like politicians shouldn't be able to play the stock market, right?
that's right.
So we're gonna dig back into Vikings news then. Or well, we kind of were talking Viking news, but they officially announced the front office, and additionally, I guess another person decided to pursue other options or explore other opportunities, and that would be. I'm sure Dad's celebrating. Should be celebrating. Was it Ryan Grigson? What's his name? Grigson.
Yeah. Yay. Adios, my man. Good luck.
Yeah, and like, what were you saying? Were you saying that he was stripped of his title, or did I hear that elsewhere?
I said that. Well, that's what I heard. He did.
Yeah, he lost the assistant general manager position, and they offered him a lower position.
Yeah.
And that's when he kind of decided to quit. Then, when it was worded nicely. But so the Vikings front office additions, and we talked about a couple of them, and I'm not even sure which ones we talked about, but Andrew Healy, Trent Kirchner as co-assistant general managers, and then director of football strategy, Tyler Hamblin, football advisor, Ryan Pace, who used to be the general manager of the Chicago Bears.
No.
Yeah. So I think he was the general manager when they drafted Mitch Trubisky as their starting quarterback, and maybe Justin Fields, both of them. Anyways, they also added a director of pro scouting, an assistant director of pro scouting, Azam Kapadia.
Wow.
So, and then there's other promotions of people that were already with the organization. So, any other thoughts or concerns about who they added, or
Not at this moment, no.
I was even thinking about it when it was brought up about the Pace, used to be the GM for the Bears. Well, it was pointed out that some of these guys, when they started working in a front office of a particular team or whatever, they've been really good at their job, and that's how the promotion and this and that get hired on, and that even though they were good at, say, scouting or pro scouting or what have you, doesn't mean that they're going to be a good GM or what have you. So I guess got to give the guy the credit. But the bottom line is, we saw was Gritson. He wasn't a very good GM, but I don't think he was a good assistant GM. Now, if he was back down in the scouting, not making calls, probably would have been all right. But, you follow where I'm going at?
yeah, I mean, I think it's less of an issue now, but like back in the 80s, 90s, I'm sure in the 70s, like it was just the good old boys club where guys would just jump from team to team, and like Buddy Ryan, and I mean, all these different coaches, Ted Marcha Broda. I mean, all these old guys were just given how many opportunities as head coaches, where now it's, if you have your one shot, most of the time you're not going to get another chance if you don't do well.
Yep.
But again, it is kind of funny how these people just keep rolling through, still rolling through other organizations.
Yep.
And you kind of discussed it a bit, Tommy, about how was it Kyler or was it JJ who was connecting with Dylan Bell pretty well?
That was Kyler Murray. Seems like those two are really connecting well during practice.
And there's been scuttlebutt because of the steam that Dylan Bell's gaining in practices, that he might actually be, give the Vikings the flexibility to trade away Jordan Addison.
Right. And he's just about up on his 2-year contract as far as Jordan Addison goes. And there's a few different teams that they think that, would be a good fit for him, for Jordan Addison, if that is comes to be a factor. But they also said they're not going to sell out cheap for him either.
No. Well, you also got to look at that they already, what is the term used when they go for the 5th-year option? What is it called?
Sometimes they just say they chose the player option, or they went with the player option.
Well, I can't remember. But anyway.
I guess I don't know what.
Like their extension or? Extension?
I think the Vikings already decided to go for the 5th-year option on Addison.
I didn't think they did.
Yeah, I think I heard they did. So if they do trade Addison, got to be the team willing to pick up pick up the 5th-year option. That's what it is. Pick up the 5th-year option.
Yeah.
But and then they wouldn't have to pay him. The Vikings wouldn't have to pay him.
Well, no, they wouldn't have to, but it's going to be a kicker, because I don't know what the 5th-year option would equal to for Addison. But whoever trades for him would be doing that, or would have to end up doing it unless they sign him to an extension right away.
And I'm sure that he'd be open to that if he gets a long-term deal.
Hey, they have so many things that they have to, weigh as far as this going on this side, this is going on over here, offers, deals on the table. We'll have to see how it pans out, though.
But I guess I would have to say that he would really have to be flashing. I mean, really making splash play after splash play to get the Vikings to think about trading away Addison.
Yeah, so far they're really impressed, so it's hard to say. As long as Dylan keeps it up, it's a possibility.
Well, just basing it off of the other rookie receivers they've had the last few years that haven't had hardly any playing time at all. Just O'Connell just doesn't trust them to know the whole playbook, it just seems like.
Yeah.
Or just we've had Addison and Jefferson, so we haven't had really the need for that many third receivers. But then again, you lose Stevie Naylor, and then it kind of looks different now.
Yeah. Well, you have to take a look at whatever package you want to run, It might not call for 3 receivers,
So they did.
Up in which they usually don't, They haven't, although they play quite a bit, 11 personnel. But I mean,
Yeah. Did have, I guess must be just the rough draft as far as their wide receivers go, but they had them listed as, wide receiver 1 is Justin Jefferson, then it went Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, Ty Belton, Miles Price, Deshaun Jones, Dante Fleming, and then Dylan Bell was number 8 on the list.
Well, depending on how I think Bell's going to be nothing else. Not the number 3, he'll be the number 4 receiver.
So isn't he running with the second team right now?
I don't know. Bell's?
Yeah, I think that's who they have.
I'm not sure myself. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see when training camp starts. But he was out there with, during the 7-on-7, 11-on-11, type deal. But they were changing them off and on, but you can't really tell with the OTAs.
Well, I think coming into the league, the talk was that the reason he fell, or wasn't he undrafted, right?
Yeah.
So the reason he fell out of the draft was that he wasn't a true wide receiver. He couldn't run the wide receiver route tree, the whole route tree, which is why he kind of would play out of the backfield sometimes, or they would just screen him the ball. So for him to come in and, displace Addison, he'd have to really been picking up, technique and stuff in the offseason.
Well, he came out of Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I understood from what I heard was that Georgia didn't have a true wide receiver package, and part of it's got to do with the quarterback they had.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear anything on them.
In fact, I think that's a comment that Steve Smith made, that Georgia didn't do Bell's any flavors. So then I heard
I guess
that
it depends on how you look at it, right?
Right. And I don't watch enough college ball to even pay attention. So,
but yeah, I mean, I guess all this kind of close up it out on for that topic is that it really have to be surprising for him to he have to be lights out for them to trade at it.
Right. They would have to get an offer that blows them away. So,
which I mean, there's always a price in the NFL.
Yep.
Which we've seen in the NBA the last couple of days here with the Timberwolves. Anyways, that's all I had on my list of topics. Anything else that I forgot to mention?
Oh, I think
the only thing is that Tom's got to come up with his game predictions. Remember?
Yeah, before we actually pick them.
Game prediction. What do we got going on?
Well, a few weeks ago, we all did our projections of whether or not the Vikings would win, all the games. Like each week we went through and projected it, each of us.
Yeah, after the schedule came out. I don't
Yeah.
know where you were. You must have been on vacation, but
I think he was on a game or at a game that night.
Yeah, we had baseball.
I know I'm just razzing him. But anyway,
I could have been taking a nap. I had sunglasses on, Dano. That's the name of the game.
Yeah. So next week, what we'll do is we'll run through you picking. So you do some work, look at it, say, okay, the Vikings will win this game, or they'll lose this game, give, a little bit of reasoning why you decided to go each route. It's, win or loss. We'll have you pick it, and then we'll compare it to what we did. We'll show you what we each of us picked.
Okay.
So it'll be kind of fun.
yeah.
All right. Well, I will try and make sure I go through the schedule then.
Yeah.
Knowing forward and back, even the preseason.
I wouldn't go that, into depth. I may not,
Oh, no, you need to know, like, if somebody says, who did the Vikings play in week 7 of the upcoming season? You need to know. I need to know what channel it's on and what time it's on.
just don't bet on it, okay? That's all.
It's like the idiot savant that all of a sudden, like, just the next day knows the entire schedule by heart and all that
Hey,
stuff. That'd be
I'll
awesome.
still place a bet. It's just going to be that you're not going to get it done.
I have a list.
I think we all do that.
Yeah.
Wife always tells me, you realize how much you want to get done this weekend? Yep. And only half of it, if you're lucky, gets done, depending on what you got going down.
Well, if you didn't have that long of a list, maybe you would only get half of that you got done.
Yeah, but then if I make the list smaller, then I get less done than I would have originally gotten done.
They'll take
we went to the
many
big candy
shots.
store last weekend and we didn't stick around. So
Yeah.
we had a list. They only had to go back for one thing.
Yeah.
Picked up our fireworks. Got 3 to 4 years worth of fireworks.
Well, there
Yep.
you go.
Went right to the warehouse.
I think you got to store it in a cool, dry place.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, any final
Well,
thoughts?
maybe that's why my fireworks went to crap.
Yeah, you're not supposed to dip them in water.
No good.
Nobody ever tells
So
you
when
this
I-
stuff. do they?
So when I had that flood in my garage, it wasn't a good thing, huh?
No, yeah, no.
Damn it! No wonder they went. That didn't happen to me.
But what if it did? No.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think we tied a bow on this one. If you like what you saw, give us a like, thumbs up, leave us a comment, do the stuff, and hit the things. Go Vikings.
Go
All right.
Vikes.
Go catch you all next week.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Awkward eye contact, awkward eye contact, awkward eye contact.